2 weeks before Christmas and a championship bursts into life. Welcome everybody to Sepang in Malaysia and welcome to the Asian Le Mans Series. It's a championship that straddles 2 seasons. We have 2 races this weekend, both over 4 hours duration, and then we reconvene after Christmas at the end of January in Dubai, and a week later the championship showdown in Abu Dhabi. It's a record entry, 48 cars for this biggest and best season of Asian Le Mans across LMP2, LMP3 and the GT3 class. And for the champions in P2 and GT, the prize is an entry into the 24 hours of Le Mans. And that is something that all the teams are going to be aiming for. We're in for a great weekend of racing. We're in for a great season, that's for sure. And the Sepang circuit is a really challenging one. Let's take a closer look. Ollie Gavin is your guide.
On board here in the number 11 TF Sport Corvette Z06 GT3R, Blake McDonald behind the wheel, coming down here the front straight at Sepang International Circuit, 5.5 kilometers, 15 turns, about 240 Ks as we're coming down here, and getting hard on the brakes, all the way down to first gear. Really trying to spot that apex, tricky here, low grip, really low grip here this weekend. Then back to the left, really trying to get the car back and then let it flow out to the exit curb. Nicely done there by Blake. Up through the gears, get up to about 225 Ks an hour here as we're heading uphill and spotted that brake point for turn 4, all the way down to about 85 Ks an hour, second gear, carefully track limits as you get hard on the throttle, traction limited, then the track starts to drop away here, about 155 Ks an hour, just wanted the car to come back a little bit more, scrabbling for grip. We've got this slower P2 car in front of it, it's into Europole, or just as it goes by the car, starts to walk across the track, careful track limits also there, then down to turn 7, third gear. You really have to be patient here, wait for the car to come back for this final apex, then on the throttle, nicely done. Track limits is another piece there. Then up through the box and trying to spot that brake point into turn 9. As you come down here, traction's super important here as you're coming off. A little bit tight there from Blake and lit the rears up as you're coming up there, keeping it around the outside into turn 11. Got to get back to the apex point here at turn 11, about 110 Ks an hour. And I think as he comes down here into turn 12, the P2 car just dive bombs him there as he comes into 12. So it's breathing a little bit offline. Then he's trying to spot it for 13. Both cars are. And the CrowdStrike car's just gone a little bit deep there. Blake's then just going to have to pinch off his exit just to give the car some room. And the P2 car, CrowdStrike car, is going to come back by any second now. And there he goes as Blake's going up through the box, 240 Ks. Then he's trying to think about his brake point here as he comes into turn 15. A little bit of a nip up on the brakes there for the CrowdStrike car. Blake's round the middle of the track there, trying to get the power down. Traction's limited as he comes off of turn 15, and that completes another lap here at the Sepang International Circuit.
A brand new season of the Asian Le Mans Series blasts into life at Sepang this weekend. And Graham Goodwin, what's new?
David, as seems to be the case every season, there's gold in every sports car racing. Everything seems to be new. There's new cars, new drivers, new teams in pretty much every class here. But in particular in GT, 21 cars will start this season, and 4 of them are going to be the new Corvette Z06. The first time we've seen the Corvette C8 version in this Asian Championships across 2 teams. They're going to be cars to watch.
Okay, so where do we need to be looking?
Everywhere, all the time. If they can get through turn 1 and turn 2 here as a pack, then the action is going to be race long, there's no doubt whatsoever about it. But it is going to be busy. 3 races effectively on the same track for 4 hours. We know here the weather can actually throw a card or 2 into the mix as well. This is going to be all action, and Ollie and I are going to get quite the workout.
Now, if you're a P2 or a GT team, you're not only looking at this championship, but the prize of going to Le Mans.
It's the biggest prize in world motorsport for teams like this. And those entries to the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2026 are increasingly tough to get to by invitation. You can earn one in one of those 2 classes here, and that's what the 16 LMP2 cars, the 21 GT3 cars are going to be looking to do.
Now, the entry here is made up of drivers of different grades, and Ollie Gavin, a bronze driver, does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's what's really unique about this multi-class racing here. You've got to have 3 different rankings of drivers. The bronze driver is that usually the starting driver. He's the driver with the least amount of experience, but he's the non-pro. But it's his passion. It's the person who's going to be in the car, who is going to be doing about an hour and a half in the car to start with, and then he'll be switching over to the silver driver, and then on to what you would call the pro, which is the gold or the platinum driver. So yes, there's a makeup of those 3 different drivers across the cars.
We've also got some famous faces this year, not only in terms of regular sports car stars.
Yeah, we've got the princes here, the Malaysian princes, who are in those Corvettes that Graham has been talking about. And we've got a whole host of professionals here that are all from the ranks of hypercar in World Endurance Championship. We've got touring car stars. We've got drivers all the way from IMSA in the United States and also in the ELMS as well. So it is a whole raft of talent and stars here in the paddock here at Sepang.
And actor Ajit Kumar, who brings a whole host of fans with him as well.
Yeah, again, that's been extraordinary. We've got people at the gates here. I mean, usually this is quite a quiet paddock, but here this weekend it's been humming, you know.
And this circuit is a real challenge, not only in terms of the corners, but also the heat, the humidity. If you're in a closed car, like the bronze drivers are going to be for a big chunk of time, it's hard work.
Oh, it is. And Sepang is certainly hot and humid. Every single day it looks like we're going to get a thunderstorm. And I think weather is going to play a big part here, but it's also the surface here. It's tricky, it's slick, it's very slippery. It's got a high deck. Michelin have brought a harder tyre here for the GT cars, and I think that's certainly one of the things that's going to come into the mix and how all of these teams manage the surface, manage the race, manage their drivers, manage everything. It's really going to be very, very tough here, and the weather conditions I think are going to be thrown into the mix as well.
It promises to be a great season of racing. It is absolutely wide open across LMP2, LMP3 and the GT3 division as well. The Asian Le Mans Series then for 2025-26 is ready to go.
Sepang Circuit in Malaysia is the stage for the start of the 2025-2026 Asian Le Mans Series. Under leaden skies that threaten rain later in the day, but for the start of the race, a magnificent 47-car grid across 3 classes. Ajit Kumar and some Celebrity Sparkle, the superstar Indian actor, would start in the LMP3. But on pole position, United Autosports, with Gianluca Roda making his debut with the team after a huge success with Proton competition. Pole position in LMP3 would go to CLX Motorsport from Switzerland, with Paul Lancher putting their 17 Ligier on top of the class. And in GT, it would be one of 2 sparkling new Corvettes from JMR. Yasser Shaheen from Australia would be the pole setter in the production-based class.
1 minute board on the grid. Clear the grid. 1 minute board.
Grid being cleared. And the guys in charge ready to watch the field go. The first of 6 races for the season in Malaysia and the UAE.
Green flag. Start of the first of the 2 formation lap.
Green flag, and off they would roll for the 2 formation laps. A record 16 LMP2 cars leading the field, with 10 LMP3s and no fewer than 21 GTs, with a sparkling number of internationally renowned marques.
Overtake before the starting lap.
The leading car controlling the field, but then it would be down to Gianluca Roda to bring the field to the start line. Watch the red lights go out and start what would be 4 hours of action for race 1, and many more hours to come for the remainder of the season. Straight from the line, the action was behind the United Autosports car, 3 wide, even 4 wide for a moment. Georgios Kolovos in the Inter-Europol car, the yellow-nosed car, making his way through into second place underneath Jens Reiner Moller. But watch to the outside here, because this move would trigger disaster for LMP3. Several cars coming together as the LMP2 cars made their way safely through turn 3. There's trouble back at turn 2. 3, 4 cars with significant damage. There's a quick spin for Bernardo Souza and a further spin in attempting to recover as a couple of the damaged LMP3 cars made their way back. But bigger trouble still remained at turn 2. The 10-car LMP3 field heavily impacted by multiple impacts. Souza would make his way back into action, but delayed. For Estia Racing car into pit lane with damaged front and rear for Nick Adcock, as would the number 71 car of Terence Woodward. Watching the start again, Rhoda getting a good start behind him. Jens Reino Muller looking to try to get around the outside, did not have the pace to do that, left the door open for Kolovos to the inside, John Falb to the outside. 3-car battle for second place, which would see Bernardo Souza involved as well and through to third at that point before the spin later. But then the dramas were in the LMP3 pack. On board here with the Pollock Racing car from Japan. And in the background, the dust off the apex of turn 2 showed where the problems were caused. On board here with Kessel Racing, and watch for the Corvette ahead, sweeping the rear wing off the stricken Ligier. That would lead to the need to intervene. Terence Woodward unable to remove his car from the scene of the accident. Again, Bernardo Souza overcooking it on his LMP2 debut. He'd have better moments though in this race as we got deeper into the 4 hours.
Now there's big damage in the pit lane for Ajit Kumar's car. He got caught up in all that drama at turn 1. They've just put a new front section on the car. The damage is on a completely separate piece that's already been taken off, but they've gone a lap down. So disappointingly now, Ajit Kumar has to think not about a race result, but just really about testing and mileage here. The car, if you can see it now, looks okay at the front. There are quite a few witness marks along the side, but it's certainly taking a big whack to the front, but there's also quite a lot of liquid dribbling out of the bottom. The dollies have gone underneath it, and I think now the car's going to be turned around and sent to the garage. This is going to be a long stop, I'm afraid, for Team Virage and for the legion of fans of Ajit Kumar opposite in the grandstand. There's not a great deal to cheer about right now.
Bad news, David Allison in pit lane, bringing to TV audience and the audience that stands opposite Ajit Kumar's Team Virage garage. Trouble 2 for the 71 car. Terence Woodward eventually would get back to pit lane, but rear damage in particular for that car would take a while to solve, and his wretched luck through 2025 continues. Ajit Kumar out of the car. The car would return for a couple of laps to make sure the repairs would keep them ready for Sunday's race, but as a viable concern in race 1, it was game over at turn 2 and entirely an innocent victim of the incident. Back to green flag running though, and it would be Giorgio Rhoda trying to hold off Georgios Kolovos, but the Inter-Europol man had got a great run here, would look to try to the outside into turn 1 to draw Giorgio Rhoda off the apex, and that worked like a charm. The Polish entered car and the Greek driver through to lead here in Sepang early in the race, with Rhoda under pressure from John Falb in the Algarve Pro Racing car behind. In GT, all sorts of action. QMMF by GetSpeed AMG, UNX by WRT BMW, but making its way up through the pack, the Origine Porsche from China, the reigning GT World Challenge Asia champions, were making their way to the front of the field. The remaining cars, at this point, a few remaining cars in LMP3 unaffected by the incident, as Bernardo Souza made his way back up towards the LMP2 field in a fine recovery drive in the 22 Proton car. This 16-car LMP2 field providing action up and down the order, but there was trouble for Fred Pordad taking a spin in turn 2, but he had help in doing so. New cars, new teams, new drivers in cars, all sorts of programs as poor dad in the RD Limited car, Roman Demais team, winners here last year at Sepang, got back on track. WRT 69 BMW in the hands of Tony McIntosh, and the Kessel 74 Ferrari tussling here. Battle for 7th between Tony and star last year here, Dustin Blattner, went on and on. The battle pack action continued as well in LMP2. Vector Sport RLR and Ponos Racing, two of the debuting teams of the Asian Le Mans Series. In the case of Ponos Racing, their first ever LMP2 race. That little battle went the way of the Japanese squad over the British entered car. Lead battle in GT. This was all about Bob Yuan, looking to see what he could do about the lead. Had been held by the Kuwaiti entered German run AMG, the 37 car. Great to see two drivers from Asia leading in a very high quality international pack. The bronze drivers in action at this stage of the race. Could be a dive to the inside by Bob Yuan. A little bit of a kiss there, trying to put the AMG driver under pressure. Meantime, Argo Pro Racing tussling here with Nielsen Racing, the both regulars in both Asia and European Le Mans Series action, both previously title winners here. Argo Pro Racing, of course, and this is Michael Jensen at the wheel, a reigning champion. Wheel-to-wheel stuff, and that would go on for the whole 4 hours. Finally, the lead taken with a fine move up the inside from Bob Yuan. Fight back from the AMG, but the deal would be done. And the number 87 Porsche ahead now with the 37 car from QMMF by GetSpeed. A fine GT battle in the first half hour of the race. Pushing hard here, United Autosports and Argo Pro Racing, and that battle would go the way of the APR car. It's the battle for second place. They tried to chase down Georgios Kolovos. Giorgio Roda just falling back behind John Falb at this point. It'd been all action on a completely dry circuit for the first 30 minutes. Further back down the order in GT, Corvette and McLaren action, United Autosports and JMMF. But with cars now in traffic, anything could happen. LMP3 cars, LMP2 and GT in all sorts of tussles. The number 4 car here from CrowdStrike Racing by APR, another previous title winner. This, DKR Engineering's number 3, their brand new chassis for the 2025-2026 season. Battle for 4th place, two of the recovering cars in LMP3. Breton Racing in the 26 car, Team Virage in the 8. It was Virage that helped Breton Racing to the title last year. They're back with 2 cars in their own entry and colours. And that battle going the way of the Polish entered team. Trouble at turn 1 for Prince Jeffrey in his JMR Corvette, into pit stop time, and it was wet weather tyres going on at this very moment. We wondered why. We wouldn't have to wait for long. The 43 into Europol car, though, would be unlucky in the timing of its pit stop as the rain began to fall. That, not weather related, was an impact on the rear of Memo Gidley's Kessel Racing car from one of the 2 JMR Corvettes, and further dramas for the 85 RHGP Duquesne, already involved in that turn 2 tussle, and there was further damage and further delay to that car in a somewhat unexplained incident. Chetelard Racing, though, are beginning to show form and coming back up through the pack to lead through the first cycle of pit stops. This was them making a later decision than some to move to wet weather tyres, and the strategy seemed to be moving their way. The Italian team with Roberto Lacorte, their bronze driver, handing the car over to hypercar star Charles Malaysi, and with Le Mans winner Antonio Fuoco still to come, it looked good at this stage for Chettilar Racing. The team making it clear this was their one shot in trying to take the title in Asia to get the team to Le Mans this year. Sepang all of a sudden going from bone dry to very tricky and greasy indeed, and this is a track that in these conditions takes time to dry out as well. The leader through this cycle, Alexander Matschel for DKR Engineering, and it was tippy-toe stuff under virtual safety car conditions. Debris at a number of places in the track with some minor incidents around. This was one of them. Probably didn't feel so minor for RHGP, but the Duquesne would get back to the pits and would be back into action. QMMF had led the race with the Get Speed AMG, and their team were about to go to work to maintain the good work that had been done in the first hour of the race by their bronze driver. Are sporting Qatari national colours. Return for those colours this year with an AMG, last year with a Porsche, and the AMG will be released to get back into the fray in a very competitive position indeed. Running at this stage in the top three. An MP3 car from Europol, their number 13 car on pit road, again here for wet weather tyres to be fitted. They come in from the lead, but as always in LMP3, the two longer pit stops see cars hopping up and down the order. It would take till very deep in the race for this race to come together, but when it did, it would do so with a real bang. Europol were in the hunt. Chettilar Racing's number 47 leading this little gaggle under the virtual safety car. All three classes involved in this, and the team using the laptop to count down the time required for their LMP2 car. In comes the Origine Porsche from the lead. Excellent opening effort from Bob Chuan. This team from China looking to repeat their success in GT World Challenge this year. And also on pit lane, the number 20 from Algarve Pro Racing. Safety car called at the end of the virtual safety car period, just as John Falm came to the end of his driving stint. Toyota Supra safety car beginning to gather the field. As LMP2s waited to be released from their pit stops. Long before we're back to green flag running from there. And DKR Engineering would lead the way from Europol. Those two cars nose to tail, with the remainder of the LMP2s having to wait until the line to start to overtake the GT leader in the train. Big gap caused by that, with further gaggle of cars trying to deal with GT traffic as the field got back up to speed. Still Origin led, but now it was the Get Speed number 9, the Silver Bartone livery car, ahead of its sister 37. The DKR car under pressure. Europol and United, and it was the United car that would make its way to the front. Driver change had taken place there, and it was Ben Hanley at the wheel of the number 6 car that would soon be in the lead. Trouble in the pack though. A brush between the 44 car and the other United, the 5 car, which a half spin and a delay for the Slovakian entered car. Trouble too, and a brief off-track moment for the 64 car from Nielsen. Battle for third, Georgios Kolovos under pressure from gold-ranked Gregoire Sauti in the second United car. He'd be heading towards the front and tried to do that as rapidly as possible, and he'd be by the Polish entered car quite quickly and off into pursuit of the DKR car ahead, as up the inside Jonas Reed in the 22 Proton car was trying to get onto terms. Strangely down on power, it seemed, 69 car with Tony McIntosh had not a lot to offer in a battle with Banksy Sam in the 77 Proton Porsche, and Proton on DKR for third place. The time at the front was ebbing away for the Luxembourgeois team, back in its Nemo livery this year, the number 3 car. The first time this team has ever run anything other than their 05 chassis from 2017. Trouble there, and that would lead to a penalty later for the 28 UNX by WRT car. Impact on the Porsche. Battles up and down the pack, this 21 car field, still pretty together, and the 51 car of Charlie Samani ran off on what was still a very greasy track. Different lines here from the two Oricas, the 88 from Proton and the Algar Pro car undercutting and taking that position. The 20 car moved up the order. High Class Racing's 49 car right up there in the mix as well. Battle for 8th place had gone the way of Enzo Trulli, as in came Hurst Felix Felbermeyer. 87 Origine car and the 21 AF Corsa. Still with the bronze drivers aboard, Darren Young, WC racer in 2025 with United Autosports in the McLaren, trying out a Ferrari, and clearly found it to his taste. Spin for the 26 Breton racing car. Travails in LMP3 continued, and that was a move to the side in avoidance for the 26, and then a hit on the United car and a brush as well with Ferrari. Somewhat self-inflicted, I'm afraid, by the Ligier driver. Vector Sport, RLR, Proton and United battling away. Honest Racing, Orica going by the CLX Motorsports LMP3. There was a comfortable lead at this stage in LMP3. The European Le Mans Series reigning champions looking to do the same in Asia. Paul Lanchet having put the car in pole position, and he was having a fairly untroubled run at this stage. Didn't quite finish like that though. RD Limited and Ponos Racing battling away. Cosolino in the black and orange Japanese entered car. RD Limited with James Allen now at the wheel and pushing hard to try to move back up the field. 13th would not be good enough for them. They wanted to get to the front and quickly. 17 of CLX Motorsport running wide. That, by the way, would seed with a little bit of pit stop strategy in the mix in putting the already delayed number 8 Team Virage car, after a great run back up the field, still sporting damage, up into the lead of the race. And was this the start of problems for CLX? Outward climb. The driver, more trouble for Breton Racing. Running still third, by the way, here. But wet grass, and at this stage, slick tyres were not a good mix. That was side-by-side brush with a Ferrari that would send the Slovakian entered car off. '51 Ferrari and the 34 Racing Team Turkey Corvette. Corvette going wheel to wheel with the UNX by WRT car. Augusta Farfus aboard, and the BMW factory driver trying to get the better of the Corvette. In comes the number 10 Montai car. They'd be in dramatic action late in the race, but this was drama of the wrong sort. The car being dropped off the jacks onto the wheel. Reigning champions here. That was a fumble. Cost them time. 85, Duquesne been back in trouble. The smoke trail showing that that car had suffered a lurid spin out of turn 15. The earlier woes for that car perhaps indicating that all was not well in terms of the handling. There'd be a further spin later in the race as well for the Duquesne. Our Michelin Le Mans Cup champions of 2025 looking to put a second title on the board. Not a good start for them here. Racing Team Turkey side by side with United Autosports McLaren this time. And this would be at the moment the fight for 13th in the order. All sorts of strategy calls around. United Autosport pit stop for the number 5 car in the lead of the race. After having been through the rain and then a rather greasy track, getting drier again, but still tippy-so stuff at certain parts of this circuit as we got to almost the halfway mark. That would see Algarve Pro Racing in for their latest pit stop, our reigning champions from 2024-25 in the 25 car from the Portuguese entered team, hugely successful in Asia, and that pit stop cycle would see high-class racing from Denmark back in the Asian Le Mans Series into the lead of the race briefly with Theo Jensen, reigning European Le Mans Series LMP3 champion with Selex Motorsport and making his LMP2 debut, have a moment in, well, not quite the sun yet, but you get the idea. That car, though, would soon be down pit lane, but a first place is a first place, and that was a moment to savour for high class. Team looking to return to action in Europe in LMP2 in 2026. The team going to work as the pit stop shuffle on track would see the number 6 car back into the lead. Ben Hanley having a stellar run in the United Autosports car in a unusually ununited livery. The white-based car made its way to the front. 52 laps under the wheels of the cars. It was United 1-2 at this stage, with Chetala Racing sitting there comfortably in third. DK Engineering having led the race fourth. CrowdStrike Racing by APR. Team Virage and CLX were battling for supremacy in LMP3, and the QMMF by GetSpeed 37 car had cycled back to the lead but had just pitted ahead of the Origine Porsche. The 9 GetSpeed AMG was sitting pretty as well in third, with the 21 AF Corsa Ferrari in contention with the silver car. 2 troubled LMP3 cars still in the pits from that lap 2 incident. As we saw as we went back to action there, a further spin for the 85 at the same place as last time. This was the lead battle once again in GT. And the GetSpeed car under pressure from the Origine Porsche. The Ferrari ahead, a back marker at this stage, and there's just a little bit of a kiss side to side. That would be enough at that point to see the Porsche take the lead again for the second time, grabbing the line from the AMG. Weather radar, though, was looming, and when the weather comes to Sepang, it comes dramatically. Windscreen wipers tell the story, and so does the lack of grip available in a place where there probably was grip the previous lap for the 43 car. That car, having been right at the front of the order, is now back towards the rear of the field. This was the start of real problems for the number 8 Team Virage car. That damage from that lap 1 incident, and the team had been told to fix it. These legality panels at the rear of the car, an essential part of the kit, and that would be a lengthy stop and a lengthy repair. Side-by-side action between the 51 Ferrari and the 69 Team WRT BMW. And the frustration of the BMW driver would be that car feeling down on power. Ben Hanley out of the car, but it was drama for United Autosports because Phil Thayer had to get back aboard the car. Seemingly had to do one more lap to fulfill his driver time. That would be very costly indeed for the number 6 United Autosports crew. Battles all the way up and down the field, but this now was a battle for a point scoring position between Racing Team Turkey's 34 Corvettes and the 74 Kessel Racing Ferrari. Both had good speed as through came the Hora, as the pair of them looking to try to get to the apex. Very different lines. And the Corvette tried the undercut. Unfortunately, there was a Ferrari exactly where he wanted to put that car. Kessel Racing through safely to retain the position. Lucky here to avoid significant contact. There was a brush though, as the little bit of carbon fibre that's popped up with a test. It was points order restored as it was. 23 events, number 23 car off and into the gravel. Yellow flags at this stage as out came the 25 from its latest stop. It would just be a loss of control on his own. Likely again a problem with there being a little less grip than he expected. That would bring out the virtual safety car again, and this was a major shuffle for everybody. Chettilar Racing taking advantage of the driver time issue for United Autosports, leapfrogged their car, and the virtual safety car would lead the race ahead of the CrowdStrike Bay APR car and the 25 car from Algarve Pro Racing. 17 car from CLX Motorsport still at this point looking in good order. Safety car then called. Was the CLX car waiting for time, and there's look to pit lane on the left hand side. You'll see there is work underway at the rear of that car. They were in trouble. Meantime, the 47 car was looking in good position. Sharma Lacey had put in a great spell. And what had happened here? Alessio Rivera walking away from a wrecked 21 Ferrari. And what would emerge later is a concertina effect to caught out Lucas Auer in the 37 AMG, and he'd hit the rear of the Ferrari hard as a result of the cars being backed up ahead of them. That would lead to a hefty penalty for the AMG and out the race for the Ferrari. As the field went back to green, there were effectively two leading GT cars down after a moment of inattention somewhere in the field. 2 wide into turn 1 and 3 wide a little later on into turn 1, and the Deco Engineering car getting around the outside of the 88 to grab the apex at the next turn. Chettilar Racing were looking in good shape here. Antonio Fuoco now at the wheel of the car, one of a couple of Ferrari drivers who'd been to Tashkent in Uzbekistan and back during the weekend for the FIA Gala. 16 hours of travel to get back in time for this race. But out of seemingly nowhere, all sorts of battles underway in the last half an hour in LMP3. That was High Class Racing taking the position, second position from CLX Motorsport, who dropped out of the lead with rear damage. And it would then be High Class Racing pushing hard to try to catch this car. And Mikibides trying to push on to the flag. But the High Class Racing car way quicker behind him, looking to close the gap in the 15 minutes there that remained. CLX Motorsport dropping back into third, helpless after long repair and damage to the rear of the car. Into the final 10 minutes, and Fuoco was pushing hard, but what pit stops would still be required, and certainly several in GT. That would shake up the order, putting the Get Speed AMG into the lead. This was the second, third and fourth place cars all making their way down the pit lane, and Racing Team Turkey had forced their way into an excellent position towards the end of the race. But what other cars would need to stop, and for how long? This, though, was the lead battle on the final lap. A bit of a kiss there from the Montai car on the rear of the AMG. They were looking to go to the lead if they possibly could, as the overall race leader came round on the final lap. Antonio Fuoco didn't want to be any part of the shenanigans that would follow in GT. And here onto the final turn, Fabian Scheller going a little wide. Loic Hartog would hip check the AMG. Fuoco crossed the line to take the win for Chetelaar, but behind it would be the number 10 car that would take the win over the line. That would be reversed later. And back in the pack, it was LMP2 going to the line as well, because of the final lap too, the 13 car had been caught by the high-class car. A chunk of time taken out in the last 5 and 10 minutes. It would all be about getting through the final turn safely. 2 different lines taken, but Henry Cabides doing just enough to beat the high-class racing car to the line in a drag race to the finish. Great finish after a terrible start in LMP3. Delight for Inter Europol and LMP3. Disappointing in LMP2, but utter delight for Chetelaar Racing. Roberto Lacorte there with Andrea Bellicchi, part of the team. Charles Malaysia getting involved there as well. LMP2 winner. Briefly though, there was a surprise on the timing screens and on the graphics. Algarve Pro Racing's 25, seeing the positions reversed. We'll see in a moment why that happened. It would prove to be incorrect. Chetelaar Racing would be the winners of this race. But at this stage, the belief was that the 25 car had taken the win. Race control and the stewards under the impression that a penalty had not been served on pit lane by the Italian entered car. We'll see shortly that that was not the case. In the background too, there is the number 10 Montai car. At this stage, believing that they too had won the race. That would leave us with a somewhat unusual scene. Francois Heriot there from the 92 car, Ricard Leitz. But Montai Racing celebrating the win over the line. It's fair to say though, I think there was some uncertainty as to whether or not that would last. GT winner being shown here as Montai. Loic Hartog taking the car to the finish after a fine middle stint from Klaas Backler and Terrazao, their bronze driver. This is the championship winning car from last season here. In the glory post flag, Algarve Pro wondering what's going on. They just got the message that they've been flagged as the race winners, but Sam Cox there, she wasn't sure. She was correct not to be sure. 2 leading cars in LMP3 absolutely would be the winner. The 13 car from Inter Europol competition, Alexander Bekatsov, Jimmy Chu, and Henry Cabides, the winning crew.
Yes.
Having come from the back of the pack with trouble in qualifying. And the unusual sight, as Chetelaar believe they've won, who are told to go back to Parc Fermé. The 25 car flagged to the position under the podium incorrectly. Chetelaar moving back, wondering what was going on at this stage. Again there, the 10 car under the podium. Neither of those would prove to be the eventual winners in their classes and in this race. And this is why. Here is the 47 car. This was the penalty that was not logged by race control. Nobody with hands on for 5 seconds for a previous incident. Now they go to work. That would be investigated immediately and corrected before the podium. Chetelaar Racing would be finally scored as the winners correctly. and finally able to celebrate. Roberto Lacorte on the right, Charles Malesi and Antonio Fuoco. The Montai crew celebrating there. They would be able to celebrate on the podium. That result would be reversed overnight with the contact to the final turn judged to be unfair and reversing the order. They'd come home second after a dramatic topsy-turvy race won. 4 hours at Sepang with 4 more to come on Sunday.
Right, we're rounding up drivers. Roberto Lacorte we have. Well, that was a confusing end, but for you, the right result. Well done.
Yes, maybe a mistake for the marshal because he did register the penalty that we did at the last stop. Sure. So we are the winner.
A hard race and a hard stint for you at the start.
It was a very, very tricky race with a lot of tricky situation because of the weather. But with managing the race under every point of view, with tire management and strategy, and thanks to Charles' drive and Fuoco Antonio drive, we did a very good job. I have 2 teammates that deserve this victory.
Complimenti. Charles, we talked in the race, but a great race for all 3 of you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the race was great. The pace was mega through the race. Was a bit tricky at the end, you know, to manage the penalty, to know exactly when if there was going to be a focus yellow or not. So, and it was difficult to read what the others were going to do, you know, for the strategy. So, but in the end, you know, we managed to cross the line P1 even with the penalty. So, yeah, I think it is a first good race for the championship, first race for me here in Malaysia. So. Was nice, and yeah, I think now we need to focus on the race tomorrow because there is still 5 more races in the championship. So it's only the first one. We need to keep this momentum, and hopefully we can fight for the championship.
Fantastic, well done. We'll see you on the podium.
Chitala Racing then take the win in race 1 ahead of Algarve Pro Racing's 25 car and the CrowdStrike Racing by APR crew. In LMP3, it would be a win for Inter-Europol competition from High Class Racing and CLX Motorsports. And in GT, Get Speed get the nod after the post-race penalty ahead of the 10 Montai Porsche and the Ikuri Icos Blackthorn Aston Martin. On the podium, the crew from the number 4 and the 25. The win would go to Roberto Lacorte, Charles Malesi and Antonio Fuoco in the 47 car from Chettilar Motorsport run by AF Corsa here. Maximum points in the first race of 6 in the Asia Le Mans Series for 2025-2026. There's where the points stand. After race 1, Chettilar Racing with 25 points, Algarve Pro with the 25 car on 18 and the 4 with 15. Nielsen Racing, United Autosports, both their cars, and Vector RLR scored worthwhile points. LMP3, CLX Motorsports and High Class Racing would take the places, but it was a win for the trio aboard the number 13 car, Alex Makantsov, Jimmy Chu and Henry Alarte taking the win by a whisker in a fantastic fight to the checkered flag.
LMP3 winners, Jimmy, let's talk to you. What a drive, what a race from the back of the class grid.
Yeah, so I started the race not what we originally planned it because we didn't have a chance to put in any lap in the qualify, so I took the start. And it's a bit messy, but we survived without any contact and just pull out a little bit of a gap, get to P1 from P10.
LMP3's Team's Trophy sees Inter-Europol at the top. Those 25 points from High Class Racing with 18, CLX with 16, including the point, of course, for pole position. Head to the number 23 from 23 Events Racing in what was a troubled race for many in the LMP3 field. GT, and it would be the Aston Martin crew for the 56, the 10 Montai crew, would take the top step here, but they would be demoted. It would be the number 9 that would finish on top of the points. When you're disappointed here, they'd cheer up later in the day when the steward's decision was confirmed. Get speed it is then, with the 25 points to top the standings for the 10 Montai car, a Kyriakos Blackthorn, with Montai's number 92 car fourth in the Kessel Racing.
So, a really dramatic start to our Asian Le Mans Series season here in Malaysia. A race that had pretty much everything from hard luck stories to great battles, mixed weather conditions, safety car interventions, and even a bit of confusion at the end. Some really good racing in LMP3, class winners coming out from the back of their grid. In the GT category, a last corner change of lead for Porsche to take the win over Mercedes AMG. And a really good strategy call, despite a penalty by Antonio Fuoco, Charles Melesi and Roberto Lacorta, in order to come home and take honours outright and in LMP2. Brilliant way to start the season. 6 races, 1 down, and there'll be more drama in round 2 here in Sepang.